Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 Origin Continent based on novel. So let's start. Every bit of energy Luo Feng possessed contained potent spirituality and his spiritual will. Even when unleashing the Origin Great Destruction, he could still reclaim 20% of his energy reserve. I was lucky to win this time. Luo Feng, clad in a blood-red robe, reflected on the previous battle, and had to admit that the third sculpture had comprehensively surpassed his current self. According to the ancestors of the endless primordial space, reaching such a level, they would already be undying and immortal. No matter how much he utilized the Origin Great Destruction, it posed no threat. It's because the 7 sculptures were a test, they all had the energy core as a weakness, giving him the slim chance of victory. My blade technique still cannot match the power of Origin Great Destruction, there's a significant difference. Luo Feng thought. With his blade technique, Luo Feng was on the same level as Starlight and Shoju. But a move of the Origin Great Destruction's level could heavily injure the 3 giant god emperors and over 20 ancestors. This move caused chaos in the innate primordial camp's army, ultimately deciding to cease fighting. This time, Luo Feng again relied on this move to narrowly defeat the third sculpture. Sadly, once such a move is seen, it won't foolishly work again. Sigh. Luo Feng took a step forward, approaching the mountain of destruction, and reached out to touch it once more. This time the touch again underwent hatred, killing intent, and numerous scenarios impacting his soul, which made Luo Feng's expression colder. After enduring the impact, he sensed the destruction fruit, treasures, and other information. Now I can obtain 3 destruction fruits, and can exchange them for other treasures. Treasures exchanged for 3 destruction fruits. Are such treasures even exchangeable? Luo Feng was quite surprised. 1 destruction fruit can make a life core evolve in a destruction direction, to a certain extent, or it can be exchanged for a treasure on the level of Kafu's battle armor. Treasures exchanged for 3 destruction fruits undergo a qualitative change. Enough to excite any ancestor or lord. Of the treasures exchangeable, there are 6 in total, choose any one of them. A seed, a stone, a drop of water, a cluster of flame, a blob of golden liquid, a ray of colored light. These 6 treasures are mysterious lands yet to grow, considered in their embryonic form. The reason they haven't matured is that they each only nurture one type of highest level power. That seed, in Luo Feng's perception, had an endless intense vitality and toughness. It contained a kind of supreme life power. That stone was extremely stable and immovable. It contained some supreme defensive power. The latter 4 corresponded to water, fire, matter, and light types of highest level power. These 6 treasures, though undergoing gestation in the endless primordial space, haven't grown into true mysterious lands. But in their most primitive form, they can be refined and carried around. Luo Feng understood this from the sensed information. A formed mysterious land, even a relatively ordinary one like the Blood Crane territory, is enormous. It took Luo Feng 10 eras to move it from its original position to beside the Origin Continent Origin World. Some particularly massive ones cannot be moved. This embryonic form mysterious land, however, can be carried around with no burden. A formed mysterious land, even if refined and controlled, only all its power can be utilized within its boundaries. Once outside, only partial strength can be borrowed from afar, increasing one's power by 30% at best. But this embryonic form, since it can merge into the body and be carried around, allows full power utilization. Even if only nurturing one type of highest level power, once all power can be borrowed, it is still greatly beneficial to oneself. Because it's borrowed. There isn't deep research into this power, unlike those ancestors who delve into a type of supreme power for their whole lives. It is estimated that 70 or 60% of the power can be exerted. If I were to choose, I would definitely pick the one that aligns with life and destruction more closely. My defensive ability is already strong enough, so I'd definitely prefer the one strong in offensive capabilities. The latter three treasures would all be helpful to me. The supreme flame, paired with life and destruction, will surely enhance destructive power. The golden liquid, flowing like a sharp blade, seems like a natural weapon. It contains a kind of highest level matter power, which is also beneficial to me. The key is that in terms of enlightenment, beyond life and destruction, my third best area is the Tao of matter. Of course, comprehending the Tao of matter is hundreds of millions of times more challenging than life and destruction. The ray of colored light contains some light power. Once mastered, I will possess the ubiquitous ability, the blade technique will be omnipresent, and it should have the same certain hit ability as Ming Huang. The blade power could also increase. In terms of power enhancement, the ray of colored light should help the most. But from a long-term perspective, from the angle of enlightenment, the golden liquid suits better. Luo Feng thought for a moment. No rush, once I create the primordial blade path, perhaps I can try to defeat the fourth sculpture. By then, obtaining another destruction fruit should allow for better treasures. Luo Feng contemplated for a while, then looked toward the fourth sculpture. It was a giant cube, composed of 125 smaller cubes. It should be much stronger than the third sculpture. I expect I would lose quite badly. Luo Feng predicted, but still walked towards these sculptures. While researching treasure information, his body had already returned to the pinnacle state. The previous three sculptures had completely fallen silent. The fourth sculpture, a massive cube, suddenly began emanating an aura, much stronger than the demon ruins aura, with invisible waves locking onto Luo Feng. Luo Feng wielded the sky-splitting saber, ready to face it with all his might. Abyss of Destruction, 19th layer. Yuan suddenly sensed a space-time fluctuation, a familiar figure crossing time and space to arrive on this layer. At this moment, Luo Feng seemed somewhat desolate, with less than 10% of his energy reserve remaining, extremely feeble. Luo Feng. Yuan immediately came forward, asking urgently, "Where did you go before, staying away for over 30 eras?" "It was a hidden spacetime in the Abyss of Destruction," Luo Feng said with a smile. "Later, I'll record all the information about this hidden spacetime and place it in the land of origin. There's no need to keep this opportunity a secret from the other lords. However, the threshold for entering is extremely high. Including himself, only 3 so-called ultimate life forms have ever entered." "All right." Yuan nodded with a smile, still very curious about this opportunity. Kafu and Luo Feng both encountered opportunities on the 19th layer of the Abyss of Destruction. As the master of this layer, he was naturally very curious about this hidden spacetime, wondering why he had never been able to enter. "Why is your aura so weak?" Yuan asked. "Is it very dangerous there?" He was well aware of how strong Luo Feng's defensive capabilities were, especially after mastering the Blood Crane territory. His ability to preserve his life had significantly increased. Yet now, with less than 10% energy reserve, the weakness of his aura could hardly be concealed. "It's not really dangerous. I ended up like this by pushing myself too hard," Luo Feng smiled, saying it was just a test there. Yuan understood. "Are you planning to continue your seclusion, or proceed to the next layer?" "I'll stay here for a while," Luo Feng said. Yuan nodded and stopped disturbing Luo Feng. Inside the cave mansion on the 19th layer of the Abyss of Destruction, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, his mind revisiting the scenes of his previous battle with the fourth sculpture. He had lost terribly. Crushed overwhelmingly. completely powerless to fight back. He could only rely on his defensive abilities to resist, but this kind of pure beating was very frustrating for Luo Feng. He found a single opportunity and unleashed an origin great destruction, but amidst the massive explosion, the enormous cube split into 125 smaller cubes and dispersed, with only 9 of them being annihilated, while the others remained intact. And the 9 annihilated small cubes quickly reformed, completely undamaged. After unleashing the origin great destruction, his power plummeted, ultimately being repeatedly struck by the 125 cubes. When his energy reserve dropped below 10%, Luo Feng fled directly. After leaving a mark on the mountain of destruction, he could descend with an avatar, or go there in his true body, and leave with his true body. Luo Feng was unwilling to be completely annihilated, so he chose to flee. With close to 10% of his energy reserve, he could recover to a pinnacle state, which would take about 15 minutes Earth time. If he were blasted into annihilation, recovery would be much more troublesome. My current true strength is much lower than that of the third sculpture. In front of the fourth sculpture, I have no power to resist, Luo Feng thought. Trying to master the abyss of destruction is indeed extremely difficult. In the endless primordial space, among the top mysterious lands, mastering the refining difficulty of each is extremely high, and sometimes, the refining method can't even be found. Luo Feng immediately split his thoughts and recorded the intelligence of the mountain of destruction, reserving it in the land of origin, for inspection by the lords only. The latest intelligence on the abyss of destruction. Mo Man noticed this new intelligence the moment Luo Feng stored it, and began reading it. Apart from the power details of the fourth sculpture, and the details of the combat process, Luo Feng detailed everything about the mountain of destruction. By passing the 7 layers of test, one can command the abyss of destruction. Mo Man's eyes lit up, finally knowing how to refine and master the mysterious land of the abyss of destruction. Including Luo Feng, only 3 have ever entered. The 7 sculptures. The first sculpture's power is comparable to the infinite ancestor before his breakthrough. The second sculpture, comparable to 2 infinite snake ancestors joining forces. The third sculpture even suppressed Luo Feng. Lord Mo Man trembled slightly as he read this intelligence. Though passing some tests could yield destruction fruits, which could be exchanged for treasures with great allure, the difficulty of these 7 sculptures' tests was excessively high. Jin brother, take a look at this intelligence, recorded by our brother Luo Feng. You must find it very interesting. Lord Mo Man immediately contacted Jin. Jin immediately began reviewing this intelligence. He was indeed very interested in the abyss of destruction. Each layer of the destruction world contained a type of power of destruction, and Jin always thought that the abyss of destruction was worth his effort. So, this is the method to refine and master the abyss of destruction, Jin reflected on the intelligence. 7 layers of test, and the opponent in the first test is comparable to the past infinite ancestor. Jin's heart shook. Before the infinite ancestor's breakthrough, he was on the 14th layer of the abyss of destruction, while Jin was on the 12th layer. Though the infinite ancestor had the advantage of being the initial settler, Jin had to admit that their strengths were quite similar. I probably can't even pass the first test. Jin realized the difficulty. The mysterious land, naturally nurtured by the endless primordial space, doesn't understand what primordial destruction Tao is. It follows only one rule: the stronger the destruction capacity, the more it favors it. According to the natural path it nurtures, ancestors need to discover 34 types of destruction power along the path of destruction, as similar destruction powers provide little help. So these 34 types of destruction power incorporate the mysteries of dozens of Tao, and this path is enough to drive any ancestor to despair. The cultivator Lord Starlight created 2 primordial level Taos, while Jin created 1 primordial destruction path, yet none could enter that hidden spacetime. It shows that even the entry threshold is extremely high. The difficulty of mastering it is even more unattainable. As a mysterious land without consciousness, it won't even consider whether the difficulty is too high, because everything is a natural evolution. Calf Xiao and Luo Feng were both led into the 19th layer of the abyss of destruction. Perhaps being able to reach the 19th layer is the minimum strength threshold. Jin pondered. Calf Xiao, Luo Feng, and Shoju all mastered a supreme power of destruction. So at least mastering one power of destruction is also an entry threshold. In the intelligence recorded by Luo Feng, it was confirmed that Calf Xiao had been inside. Because that battle armor and the mountain of destruction could be exchanged like treasures. There is also a strong suspicion that Shoju had been inside. Since the one stronger than Calf Xiao, who also mastered the power of destruction, are only demon ruins and Shoju. Demon ruins were born this strong, without obvious enhancement. Shoju, however, had a growth period, growing to the pinnacle of the endless primordial space. I wield the primordial destruction path, and the power I unleash is the highest level of the power of destruction. The only issue is that my strength is insufficient, Jin contemplated. The ancestors pursue the mining of more power. The cultivator lords pursue the creation of more Daos. My primordial destruction path is 9 parts destruction and 1 part life. I have my own understanding of life too, Jin thought. But the mystique of life I understand is not enough to form a life-dominated Dao. To comprehend a Dao, the required insight is immense. Before breaking out of the cage, Luo Feng had already realized the primordial life and destruction Dao with 7 parts life and 3 parts destruction. His destruction insight was profound. Even after becoming a lord, one must still go to the abyss of destruction to enhance destruction accumulation. As for Jin, even the accumulation of understanding is far from enough. I am even less proficient in comprehending other mysteries. Jin felt powerless. Cultivation is just like that. For some strong individuals, reaching the world-level primordial is already their limit. For others, realizing a primordial level Dao is their utmost. Compared with those unable to break out of the cage, they are already very dazzling, but ultimately they have their limits. Even beings like Starlight and Luo Feng, who break laws with force, have their limits. Luo Feng, in the 19th layer of the abyss of destruction. Luo Feng calmed his mind and gazed at the outside world. His gaze pierced through endless space-time, following causality, seeing domain after domain, the territory of the innate primordial camp, the territory of the ice peak camp, and the territory of some weaker forces. I have come into contact with countless killing intents and hatred on the mountain of destruction, with many memory scenes, almost experiencing them firsthand. These scenes are countless, many occurred long ago. Yet, some disasters are still ongoing. There are 3,916 disasters currently ongoing. Luo Feng sat cross-legged and instantly sent out 3,916 thoughts, descending upon those domains, with each thought starting to gather power and gradually growing. For any of these domains, just traveling would take tens of days, or even longer. To simultaneously change 3,916 calamities, the true body would not make it in time. Only avatars can descend and grow. The 3916 thoughts, gathering power and slowly growing, took about 15 Earth hours to all grow to the 1/10,000th energy reserve form of Luo Feng's true body, a form strong enough to sweep and annihilate any world-level primordial. Action. Killing some world-level primordials, Luo Feng naturally wouldn't hesitate. Black-clad Luo Fengs acted simultaneously. This video will end here.